Well, Krawler, looks like it's just you and me. The rest of the Flip Council is gone. Shadow and Guru are tiered decks. Maybe we should just disband. Did you want to see my combo? Oh, Krawler, you have such a wonderful imagination. A mind unspoilt by reality. There never was any combo. Someone on Reddit just forgot to read a couple of their cards. Oh. No combo? Krawler, come with me, and I'll show you just what combos you're capable of.
Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. As we prepare for another rousing Chalice Slime Monthly, I think it's time to remind everyone what exactly it is you're playing for. You're not only playing for a trophy, a box, and the ability to tell everyone online how you beat the stuffing out of Jeff Leonard, you're also playing for a custom 10-minute testing. And apparently, some people want to waste their 10-minute testing on something like this. Presenting Krawler. Before we begin, a quick reminder. If you want to extend a kindness to me and give me something better to play next month, you can enter my free-to-play Chalice Slime Monthly tournament by clicking the sign-up link that will be live on my community page next Thursday, March 25th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So here's the list, and oh! Okay, I was a little bit concerned. I've certainly grappled with Krawler in the past, and in 2018 we were starving, jamming Goes in Match and hoping it was enough. Happy to see it's got a game plan at least. As always, I'll give you background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is an online strategy site for our mutual favorite card game. It's got a deck builder, card database, and a wealth of strategy articles. It's also where I post the Chalice Slime Monthly deck breakdowns, so give it a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. So with that, let's crumple into Krawler. Krawler is a lore archetype. Quit booing, please. Please quit booing. I know you're all sick of Mech Knights, but this is different. The Krawlers are flip monsters. And let me tell you, if I had said that 3 years ago, wow, your jaws would be on the floor. Unfortunately, with Guru and Shadow being top decks, a deck having flip monsters is about as exciting as a deck having ritual monsters in Drytron format. Uniqueness aside, the Krawlers all have two effects, one individual to their crawly carapace, one's a Stratos, one's an MST, one's a Man-Eater Bug, and one that triggers when a face-up Krawler is removed from the field by a card effect. That is always afloat into two different Krawlers from the deck. They're made to disincentivize attacking by way of their field spell, and disincentivize removal by way of their float effects. Unfortunately, that doesn't cut it in 2021. Can you imagine playing a deck that completely relies on its field spell and isn't named Dinosaur? Because of that, we're going to do something else with these creepy crawlies. By normal summoning Girsu, the best starter currently in zero meta decks, we can send Mind Meld, make Lib, set Pawns, Mind Meld into Deus, and flip it in the draw phase. It's like a VFD, but it's being played in a format where no one's prepared for VFD. So with that, let's get into the card by card. Firstly, our monsters. 3 Girsu, 3 Receptor, 3 Spine, 2 Glial, 2 Axon, 1 Ranvener, and 1 Deus Ex. Rounding out the monster lineup, we've got 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. For spells, we're on 3 copies of World Legacy Survivor, probably the most powerful World Legacy card seeing 0 play, 2 Shadow, and 1 Called by the Grave. For traps, we're on 3 Infip, 2 IDP, 2 Mind Meld, 2 Dogmatica Punishment, 2 Storming Mirror Force, their list, not ours, 2 Pawns, 2 Solemn Strike, and an Imperial Order. In the extra, we're on 2 Ntis, a Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax, this is good both for punishment and to actually summon, Nightmare Unicorn, 2 Lib, then 2 apiece of Kalark, Norogos, and Synaptis, followed by Masquerena, Linkaribo, and Almirage. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against... the Mirror! Well, I guess when you're playing a Tier 0 format destroying super threat like this deck, you can't help but run into someone also jamming Krawler Axon unironically. At least our hand is good. We're going to go for a Girsu to send a copy of Mind Meld, then activate Girsu's effect, summoning tokens to both players' sides of the field. In case you're wondering why we were playing 2 Mind Meld, the one in hand should let you know. We'll go into Lib and set a copy of Pawns before activating Mind Meld's graveyard effect and getting ashed. Well, we don't really have a backup plan, so let's set a couple of cards and pass. Our opponent draws a Girsu off the top. No big deal. They'll activate the effect and we will Ash Blossom. They don't have the strike set, so it resolves. They'll go into a Linkaribo, set 2, and pass turn. Okay, so Lib is once per turn, not on summon, so we're going to set a copy of Survivor and hope that we are able to activate activate it next turn. We'll attack into the Linkuriboh, they'll activate the effect, and we'll pass back to them. For turn, our opponent draws an IDP. Interesting. They'll go for Girsu here, getting a token to both player sides of the field, but they can't do anything with it yet because you need a certain graveyard setup to make Lib in the first place. We draw for turn, and finally we should get some action going. We're going to go for Survivor here. All we need is a Krawler, and we do find one. We also find Deus Ex. That's kind of crusty. That means we'll have to Glial it back at some point. We're going to pawns to pitch this Spine and get struck. No big deal. We'll activate the graveyard effect of Spine to summon two, and yeah, okay. Well, we'll go into a Linkuriboh and attack into their Linkuriboh, then attack into their copy of Girsu. At least they won't be making tokens. They draw for turn a copy of Infinite Impermanence. They're going to flip up Krawler Axon, targeting our set card. I'll chain IDP, but they have no Krawlers in the graveyard, so we just get a Girsu, I guess is a beater. Its effect is negated, but we are going to activate it, because it's funny. We draw a Spine off the top. We're going to go to the battle phase and walk over the Axon while we still have the ability to do so. They're going to IDP, targeting our Deus, but we're going to activate pawns, shuffling back the Deus for cost, so we can reset our copy of Girsu. That was kind of heads up. Our opponent draws the pawns off the top of the deck and sets it, passing it back to us. We draw a Storming Mirror Force, flip up this copy of Krawler Spine and this Girsu, and proceed to the battle phase, at which point our opponent starts activating everything just to show us how thoroughly we have defeated them. Our second match is up against Hero, and is a textbook example of what happens if you fail to open the combo. We're going first, we'll set a Receptor and 4 traps. Good luck to our opponent. Our opponent draws an Ash Blossom off the top. They're going to lead with the Knee Call and follow it up with the Knee Call. All right. They're going to normal summon a copy of Stratos and activate its effect to add a copy of Ferris to hand. They'll activate the effect of Ferris, and I know my hero combos. We will go ahead and stop that now. From here, they're going to activate the graveyard effect of Malicious, summoning a Malicious from deck, and then link summoning a Cross Crusader. They'll activate the effect of Cross Crusader, and we will infip. Unfortunately, we don't have a really good way to stop the Cross Crusader, so we are going to have to draw one. We'll go for a Receptor for a Glial, and they will pass turn. For turn, we draw... Oh my god, that's fantastic. We're going to normal summon a copy of Girsu and get Ash Blossomed. Come on! Okay, well, we'll summon a token to both player sides of the field. Maybe we can make a Linkuriboh play. We'll go to the battle phase, and thankfully 18 is bigger than 16 in main phase 2. We'll make a Linkuriboh and pass back to our opponent. They draw for turn, and it's Dark Calling. Wow, they are bricking. They're going to normal summon a copy of... Shadow Mist trying to suicide in, but we will go ahead and activate Storming Mirror Force to put that back in the hand. I'm wise to your tricks. We'll go ahead and set one card, this time the Glial, then use the pawns we have set to flip it up and trigger its effect. Our opponent has the Infip as well. Gosh, dang it. We'll go to the battle phase, and we get in for a respectable amount of damage, but we need to put the screws on our opponent if we are not going to lose. Our opponent draws a Mask Change off the top. Shoot. They're going to go for the Shadow Mist, attack into the Linkuriboh. I'm completely fine with that. And then they reveal the Mask Change for the Anki. We're going to Ash Blossom the Shadow Mist, which is great news, but unfortunately the Anki is not only going to walk over our copy of Girsu, it is also going to pivot into a copy of Darklaw. That's going to get over the Glial in a way that is very frustrating. We will World Legacy pawns to put it face down, but with nothing in the graveyard, we can't even trigger it. We draw Girsu off the top, and oh god, but for the Darklaw, we could still do the combo. I suppose we'll summon some tokens. Maybe we can get a Linkuriboh going, but this is looking very bad. We need a couple of turns of our opponent bricking in order for this to work. That's one. They're going to normal summon a copy of Increase, and while they can wipe our board, we do have outs to this. They're just kind of few and far between. We draw off the top of our deck. That's not going to do it. We'll set a Spine and pass back to our opponent. Our opponent for turn draws a copy of Fusion Destiny. Well, I can't be too mad. About 80% of their deck is starters, and we whiffed about 4 draw steps in a row. They're going to go for a Ferris, which they Tribute Summon. God, I've been there. Before activating the spell and trap effect of Increase to summon itself, and a Vion from deck. They'll activate the effect of Vion, setting from deck to graveyard a copy of a Dusted Gold, and I know the fix is in. They'll activate Polymerization to go into a Dystopia, then trigger the effect of Dystopia for 1600, before activating Dark Calling and making Malicious Bane. They'll proceed to battle phase and attack into my copy of Spine. We can kill the Dystopia, but we can't do anything about the Mali. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Invoked Dogmatica, and that is a heck of a hand. They're going to start by normal summoning a copy of Droll and Lockbird to make an Almirage, so they can special summon this copy of Ecclesia from hand. Obviously, they had a combo turn in mind, but we drew the Ash Blossom. They're going to go into a Secure Gardener, set 1, and pass. Okay, we have the Girsu. We're going to normal summon a copy of Girsu, then activate its effect to send a Mind Meld. Next, we'll activate Girsu's effect to get a token to both player sides of the field, and out comes Lib. Before we can activate the effect of Lib, they'll activate Punishment. We'll chain the effect of Mind Meld so we can get a copy of Deus Ex Krawler from deck. They're going to send a copy of Entis and then activate Entis's effect, but Krawler negates it! I was shocked to find this out too. We'll set 3 cards and pass it back to our opponent. They're going to activate the effect of Ecclesia in hand, summoning it and activating its effect, which is met with a Solemn Strike. Things are looking very good. They'll pass back to us, and Yeah, great. Let's normal summon Girsu again. We'll activate Girsu's effect, sending another copy of Mind Meld, and proceed to the battle phase, walking over the Ecclesia with a monster that was not summoned from the extra deck. I'm not putting this sucker at attack position. They'll activate Disciple of the Nadir off the top. Oh god, okay, we're gonna have to win this one without Deus Ex. They're going to normal summon a copy of Ecclesia, and then activate the effect of Maximus in hand. At this point, I'm going to IDP in order to bring the Ecclesia from their graveyard back to my side of the field, so we can banish both it and the Maximus before it has a chance to activate. We don't have very many good cards left in our deck. We're gonna go for the Girsu effect here and walk over the Ecclesia. Maybe they'll just run out of proactive monsters. We'll go into a lib, and thankfully it resolves. We'll set a copy of Pawns, activate Mind Meld to summon something to our link point, going for the Glial here, and then activate Shadows. We'll pass back to our opponent and hope for the best. They draw a magical Meltdown off the top. Okay, no big deal. They're going to normal summon a copy of Alistair. We do have the Infinite Impermanence, and they have the Invocation. Of course, they're a good invoked player, what can I say? They'll activate Invocation. We will punishment targeting the secure Gardna, so we can activate the Entis effect in Graveyard to target the very high attack Purgatrio. At end step, we'll activate Pawns to flip up our copy of Glial, then activate Glial's effect to summon back the Deus Ex Krawler. Off the top, we draw a Receptor. Oh my god. We'll set that sucker and then Pawns him back up. We'll activate the effect of Receptor to get a copy of Spine to hand, then flip summon this Deus Ex Krawler. Time to be the beatdown. We get in for a fair amount of damage, but we're still only on a 2-turn clock, and now that Gamma is live. We'll pass back to our opponent. For turn, they draw a copy of Maximus. They're going to normal summon an Alistair, but my Deus Ex is in full force. They'll summon a Maximus, but it does quite literally nothing. It's a 3,000 defense but we can still get over it by setting this copy of Spine, then activating Pawns to flip it up, targeting that Maximus Dragma, and then getting in for lethal. I aim to do so with the Crawlers, even through my opponent's Almirage effect in Graveyard. So it's time for game 2, and what a weird hand from our opponent. I guess whatever they draw off Pot of Desires will decide it. They're going to lead with a copy of Magical Meltdown, then get an Alistair to hand. They will normal summon the Alistair and activate its effect to find a copy of Invocation. They'll go from Almirage into Secure Gardna, firing off the Invocation, and with Makaba on their side of the field, they'll fire off a Pot of Desires, finding... Oh my god! That's like an all-time worst Pot of Desires. They'll pass turn with no set cards. We're going to lead with a copy of Survivor. That is high impact enough that they do have to negate it. And then we'll normal summon a copy of Girsu. How lucky for us. We'll send a copy of Mind Meld to get a token, and then go into a copy of Lib. Now we're playing around Nibiru here. We're going to set a copy of Pawns. I expect there's one because why wouldn't they play things from their hand? So we'll wait till end step, where Nibiru can't be activated, to activate the graveyard effect of Mind Meld. We'll activate Pawns in the draw step, flipping our Deus Ex Krawler face up. Thankfully, they don't have negation in the form of a trap card, and they'll summon a Fleur-de-Lis and proceed to battle phase. Now they can kill us here just by pumping their Makaba, but that's going to be difficult if we punishment their Fleur-de-Lis and then Entis pop the mech. They go for the Alistair on the Makaba. Oh, misreading the target. They will activate this copy of Disciples main phase 2, but unfortunately for our opponent, this time we do have the strike for the Entis. They'll activate Dragma's effect, but with the Crawler on the field, it's not going to accomplish much. Okay, so from here we can activate Lib's effect to set a copy of World Legacy Survivor, then fire off IDP in order to banish this copy of Maximus alongside an Alistair. We'll go to the battle phase and do about half of their life points, at which point we will set a copy of Glial and pass back. Our opponent's going to set 2 and pass turn. God, these draws are just miserable. I am so sorry if you are watching this. They will go ahead and Ash Blossom our Survivor. No big deal. We can activate Lib's effect in order to get the field spell before flipping up Glial and activating its effect to set a Ranveer. Next, we're going into a Unicorn, triggering both the Unicorn effect and the Lib effect so we can shuffle everything our opponent controls back into the deck. Then we'll activate Pawns, and it's BM time, baby. Ranveer is going to get this Glial back. We'll normal the Glial and go into Neurogos before proceeding to battle phase. So we're back with the deck, and this is something. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, it's got a really, really consistent opening play that ends in a board that's simple but difficult to out. That's, I was waiting for the but that's actually pretty impressive. 2, Deus is one of those cards that's really easy to mess up. Not a lot can activate while face down to negate an effect. I think the only precedents are Dream Sprite and Big Shield Gardna, so players can easily screw up their lines. And 3, people are packing less hate for VFD effects than they were a format ago, so it's kind of this deck's time to shine. And the cons. 1, I don't think this is the right shell for this combo. If your opponent outs Deus, you're not going to get back into the game by activating Receptor. This should probably be a setup in some Mech Knight deck that's on 3 purple, 2 blue or something. 2, if you don't find Girsu, you get a pretty quick reminder as to why people don't play Krawler. This shit sucks. And 3, it's really expensive, hilariously. Somehow Girsu is still a $40 card, so building this nonsense isn't even cost effective. All in all, this is definitely one of the least painful Chalice Slime rewards I've had to fulfill. It's an interesting combo, this just probably isn't the right deck for it. So that's that. As always, thanks to my patrons Dominic Ernst, Hakuo, AJBYGO, Alex Perea, BB Poison, Caleb Jassa, Candyman, GB Gohan, CJ Alex, Crispy, Dimsum05, Frosty, Jack Sack PhD, King Magic Ruler, Night Mari, Lil Learn, Matt, Mike Carlotti, Rocky Hernandez, Rose Lapine, Sarah Rutledge, Seeker, Space Dandy 1993, Tyler Slacks, Adam Trevino, Adrian Bra, Amit Elefandi, Amaranta V, Andrew Benson, Andrew Faruya, Andrew Horseman Linderman, Angry Bed, Apex Systems, Ballin Stalin, Billy Williams, Blake Root, Brandon Keys, Black, Candide, Chad Bortz, Chad Weatherington, Jorps Away, Cole Shulian, Control for the Win, Crystal Red Fox, Daffy Deathclock, Dan the Man Hoban, Darcy Tevs, Dogma, Doug Parslow, Dive Missile, Distrin, Eats Puppies, Emperor Stove, Ernesto Ibarra, Eternal Lamb, Afior Arnason? Arnarson? I'm still trying this one, I'm sorry. Fighting Fangwong, FUTR, Game of Wolf, Hank Cheesecake, Helios the Helios, Haruf, Josemina, Isaac Jackson, Jack Doherty, Jane Linya, Jared Lorman, Jason Leonard, Jay Gordon, Jeff Leonard, Jose Luis Cortez, Juliet Chulian, Callie, Corey Hess, Kurokaze, Lake Bayer, Lawrence, Lightsworn Gorgon, Lottie, Lucas Angles, Lucas Geardis, Lucky Number 5, Lucas Arizo Hansen, Major Duncan, Max, Medizo Emrys, Michael Oskvark, Miyun Arashi, Nick Extreme 99, Niru Soup, Nix Dolores, No Penguin, Oli Bjarki Austfioro, Papa Dragonite, Pizza Sandwich, Precise Bike 13, Picnic Blasted, Pro FB2, Sam Pinney, Samsoon, Sapphic Ashley, Sean Deal, Standards Objective, Swinkles, This Machine 237, TJ Steakhouse, Yuri's Best, and Yukie. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing. And if you want to be part of the next one, consider following me on Twitch as well. See you next time.